Gone to the Dogs by Simon Gary. Archived transcript of interview with writer Ray Spatchcock. Everything happened so fast with Gone to the Dogs, but I still have fond recollections of it. It was initially commissioned by Dickie Valentine after a meeting in a Pimlico tea room early in 1973. Though if you ask Harry, he will swear blind it was in Tooting. The encounter with Dickie was made much easier by the fact that we had already penned 2 shows for television by this time, but neither Many a Mickle Makes a Muckle or Teabagging, which was set in a teabag factory, endured the same enduring success of Dogs. That said, I am very thankful to these shows, because they helped us learn our craft, which, in turn, we will be able to put to good use on Dogs. If that is the one piece of work for which Spatchcock and Munroe are remembered, well, that wouldn't be such a bad legacy, would it? The show went to air in November of that same year, so you can see there wasn't much time to get the scripts together, let alone a cast, a crew, set and studio. Still, things worked differently back then. There were none of those painstaking production values and reels of retakes. Things had to be right, pretty much from the off. I remember seeing some of the early rushes with Harry and the producer, Les Dainty. We were really pleased with them, and when we shared them with everybody, it gave the whole company a lift. From that moment we came together, like a family, and that was something we never really lost, despite the ups and downs. Deep down, I think that is why I, and perhaps even the British public, have such a fondness for our dear, dear old show. Come, let me show you some things that you might like. Follow me, through to the study, just through here. In these boxes are copies of all the scripts. A few are signed by myself, Harry and the cast, mainly those episodes which started or ended a series, and some of the frontispieces are delightfully annotated by the actors to which they belonged. But there is another keepsake, which was gifted to me at the end of our run. Do you see it? There, in the corner. You're right, yes. It's the old clocking station we had on set. You must be quite a fan to spot that, sir. It didn't get used in many scenes, but it was always in the background. I think one of the designers got it from a factory that was throwing it out, but it still works. We went and had all the time cards made up. Can you see? We even had individual payroll numbers put on them. Everybody on set had a time card. There's mine, there's Harry's, and that one's Les's. We needed a few more in there to make up the numbers. One wag even put one in for the Prime Minister. I believe even the Chelsea back 4 had cards at the one time. Look, here's mine. Go on, slip it in there and punch me in like it's reporting back in for duty all over again. Sometimes I come in here and look at it, maybe run my hands over the bronzing mahogany. But I've had my joy from this piece of memorabilia now. The memories are up here, rather than locked in this piece. It's time for it to move on and find a new home, to keep the spirit of the show alive. I think it would be nice for you to have it when the book is finished. Archive transcript with Harry Munroe, co-writer of Gone to the Dogs. I first met the young Ray Spatchcock when we were both assigned to the 2nd Infantry Division as part of the 14th Army in 1944. We were stationed in India. As a private, Ray arrived in my troop, in which I was a lance bombardier, so I sort of took him under my wing. We had both been seconded to the concert party to help with the vital work there, so it was not long before we were collaborating on the odd skit. I immediately noticed something in Ray, a sort of raw quality which I felt I could mould, nurture, and work with. Soon we were beginning to write on any bits of scrap paper we could find when we were off watch together. Naturally, as the older man and higher ranking, it fell to me to take some of the larger roles in divisional productions. But I always found something for Ray if I could, and I think he was grateful. I think our finest moment was a show in Lucknow in April '44, just before we travelled up to Burma. Myself and Ray had a number of self-penned skits in the show, all of which went down a storm, particularly a gentle little parody we did called The Generals. Ray's writing was starting to show signs of making muster, and he genuinely did chip in with some funny lines, with my guidance. Of course, the war couldn't go on forever, so eventually I arrived back in London. I had kept the material myself and Ray had produced, and through a few contacts managed to get myself a meeting with Ernie Palmmaster, who was something of a big fish in radio at the time. I showed him my stuff, along with a few of the bits I'd written with Ray, and straight away we were invited to submit pieces for shows such as Davy Jangle's Variety Night, Hello Mrs. Who Are You?, and the ever-popular You'd Laugh to See a Pudding Crawl. Soon we were recognised names. The work just started to pour in from there. Gone to the Dogs was commissioned by our old friend Dickie Valentine during a meeting in, I think it was Tooting. He didn't give us long to get the final scripts together, but that wasn't a problem, as Ray and I had been kicking around the idea of doing something in the Greyhound Stadium ever since teabagging. I'd always taken the precaution of keeping a scrapbook of characters, so we pretty much had the Arthur Chataway persona worked out. We just never had the right vehicle for him. My foresight was such a blessing as we were able to build the show around Arthur, and the first episodes came quite freely. We did all of the writing in a dingy office above a laundrette in Soho. I had been keen to find offices some years earlier to really force Ray and I to see it as a job. It wasn't the most salubrious of backdrops, what with the interminable squeaking from next door and the constant vibration from below. Ray, being quicker than me, did the typing, as I invariably pushed a bucket around the bare boards to catch the drips. That was how we worked. We never really got around to moving out, and we were still there when they pulled the building down in 1979.